Hey, this is Jason Kanigan. I wanted to answer a question that I've seen on Facebook and some of my groups, and also out here on the forum. If somebody questions your credibility or your experience, what should you do? So let's look at some answers to that.
Okay, so what should we do if a prospect questions our credentials or experience during the sales process? If you've got some experience already, the temptation is to get defensive, bluster, blubber a little bit, throw facts at them, kind of like an octopus, try and overcome them with all these arms of factoids and that. And you may have found that that's not very effective because it's confrontational. The worst thing, though, is for people who are new to the game and they in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I know it. And, gee, I hope they don't ask about my experience. Sure hope they don't ask about it. And then, of course, what do? They ask about it because you've actually created that result. So first, we're going to look at some reactions, some quick reactions that you can have to that question. And then second, ideally, what we would prefer is that nobody ever asked that question. Nobody ever questioned our credentials or experience. And I will show you ways to set things up so that that doesn't happen. Okay, so some reactions here. Somebody says, "Well, what about your experience? I want to see some past copy or some other designs or something like that." We could begin with, "Well, I'd like to, but my clients want to remain confidential, and the work that I did for them, therefore, is confidential. It's their property. They own it. It's now theirs." Secondly, what works for them won't necessarily work for you. What worked in their niche isn't necessarily going to be what works for you here. Two websites, are they going to look exactly the same if you're doing a plumber and a dentist website? Are those two going to look the same? Probably not. So trying to impress a plumber with something that you did for a dentist is not a good idea. And they need to understand that. What you like isn't necessarily what my past clients liked. You may hate the color blue, and if I show you a blue website, that's, in all other respects great. But you don't like the color blue, you're going to qualify me out. Well, I didn't like what he showed me. Well, that's just stupid, isn't it? But this is the kind of decision making that prospects can make. So it's kind of pointless for me to show you. Instead, what we want to do is start steering them into questions about understanding their problem in a deeper level. In this case, I would put a piece of paper over to them and give them a pen and say, look, start drawing out for me what you would expect this thing to look like. You'll also get prospects who want to see samples and examples and things like that. So that actually they're trying to pull one over on you. They're trying to get a free education and take a bit of this and a bit of that, and you'll see this. Somebody will get a part of a phone script from one guy and another from somebody else, and they'll sprinkle in other sources. And I've seen this all the time with advertising copy. And it creates this Frankenstein monster. That's what I call it. A Frankenstein monster copy. It's horrible. It doesn't work. It's not effective. Prospects like, oh, I combined A and B and sprinkled in a little bit of C, and oh, it's alive. Ooh, and it just doesn't work. It turns on its master. So we can tell them about all these things and then steer them back into the questioning about, tell me more about your business. What's really going on? Tell me more about this problem. How long has it been happening? What kind of a solution are you envisioning? What's going on here is that there's some kind of underlying issue, and we can go for this. You got to be tough. It's going to be uncomfortable to ask this question. Look, if I shared this with you somehow, or if you knew this stuff, what would it enable you to decide? And what you're probably going to find is that the prospects want to commoditize everything. They want to set everything up in a nice table and line it up and make everything the same, equal, except on price. They want to reduce everything to price. Maybe there is a more deeper underlying issue that you'll uncover by asking this question, but usually it's going to come down to them not knowing anything else, and so they want to commoditize and turn it into price. So how can we stop this problem from happening? Tell them up front what you show and what you don't show, and you can do this on your website or in an email or in a video or any kind of communication to your prospect, or very early on in the conversation. This is what I show, this is what I don't show. Here's why. Tell them I don't show examples. I do this on my copywriting site. stuff's confidential. It belongs to my past clients. It's their property. And sometimes they make changes to it, which I personally don't approve of, but it's their property. They can do with it whatever they want. But I'm not going to show you something that they've changed and have you look at that and go, well, this part here, it's like gears grinding in my head. Well, yeah, they changed it, but we're never going to get that conversation. So I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't share this stuff. We can concentrate on getting warm and hot referrals. There's 4 types of referrals. The 2 best are warm and hot. This is where your client phones up your referral prospect and says, hey, I've been working with Jason, he's a great guy, here are the kinds of problems we've been solving. Or they invite that referral into their place of business to meet with you and them, and here you've got a 50% or better and a 95% or better chance of closing. Do you think that anybody's ever going to question your credentials when they're pre-sold this way? It never happened to me. Okay. If you really know your niche, if you really understand your prospect's business, the questions you ask will demonstrate you know it. And they'll never ask. May be hard to believe, but this is a fact. Quality of your questions show that you know the niche, and the business owners will never think to ask about your credentials. Why would they? You've clearly helped somebody else like them. And finally, head trash. And this is key. This is what's going on between your ears. Look, you know everything about yourself. Everything. Good, bad, ugly. I don't. Your prospects don't. They don't know anything about you. Especially if this is just your first phone call to them. You're just a voice on the other end of the line. They know like 2% about you. So they don't come to the conversation knowing everything about you. Don't misrepresent yourself. Don't pretend that you can solve problems you can't. But don't invite the questions about your experience and your credibility by being afraid of them. They don't know anything about you. As far as they know, you're a successful whatever it is that you do. Web designer, copywriter, marketer, something. And let them continue to think that, even if this is your very first prospect. They don't know any different. So don't let your head trash invite the questions. Don't lie. Don't misrepresent yourself. But don't invite that question. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you got any comments or feedback, I'd love to see it below. Thanks.